My ex's mom repeatedly took my toddler from the babysitter claiming grandparent rights. CPS got involved and uncovered a fake CPS report she filed saying I was abusing my own child. Please take a second to hit subscribe and tell us where you're joining from. I'm always touched by how connected this community feels. I should have known something was wrong when my phone started blowing up at 2:47 p.m. on a Tuesday. My babysitter Carol's name flashed across the screen 5 times in a row. My stomach dropped. I was in the middle of a presentation at work, but I excused myself and called back immediately. Tasha, she took her, Carol said, her voice shaking. Who took who? I demanded, already knowing the answer but praying I was wrong. Your ex's mama, Mrs. Patricia. She just showed up, said she had grandparent rights and walked out with Amara. I tried to stop her but she said you gave permission. My blood ran cold. I hadn't spoken to my ex Gerald or his mother in 6 months. Not since I'd finally gathered the courage to leave him after catching him cheating for the 3rd time. Amara was only 2 years old, still in diapers, and Patricia had never shown interest in being a grandmother when Gerald and I were together. Call the police, I told Carol. Right now. I'm on my way. I grabbed my purse and ran to my car, my hands trembling so badly I could barely get the key in the ignition. This wasn't a misunderstanding. Patricia had always been controlling, always inserting herself where she didn't belong, but this was kidnapping. As I sped through traffic, my mind raced back to the last conversation I'd had with Gerald. You're really gonna keep my daughter from me? Gerald had yelled, standing in my mama's driveway where I'd been staying. His eyes were bloodshot, whether from crying or drinking I couldn't tell anymore. I'm keeping her safe, I'd replied, holding Amara tighter against my chest. She was crying, scared by her father's raised voice. Safe? I'm her father. You're a cheater and a liar, Gerald. You chose that girl over your family. That's when Patricia had pulled up in her silver Lexus, stepping out like she owned the place. Natasha, you need to be reasonable, she'd said in that syrupy sweet voice that made my skin crawl. Gerald made a mistake, but you can't keep a child from her father. That's illegal. What's illegal is him putting his hands on me last month, I'd shot back. Gerald had shoved me during an argument about his latest affair. It wasn't the first time. Patricia's face had hardened. You're a liar. My son would never. Your son is exactly like his father was, I'd said, remembering the stories Gerald's sister told me about their childhood. Patricia's expression turned venomous. You'll regret this, little girl. I promise you that. I'd gotten a restraining order the next week. Against Gerald, not Patricia. Now, racing to Carol's house, I realized that was my first mistake. Officer Rodriguez looked at me with barely concealed skepticism. Ma'am, if she's the child's grandmother, she has no legal rights, I interrupted, slamming the custody papers on his desk. I have sole custody. Gerald hasn't paid child support in 4 months. He's violated the restraining order twice. And his mother just took my baby from my babysitter without permission. Did she threaten anyone? He asked. Did she use force? She doesn't have to threaten anyone. My voice cracked. She took a 2-year-old child who doesn't know her. That's kidnapping. Carol sat beside me, nodding vigorously. I told her no. I said Tasha didn't give permission. She just smiled and said, "We'll see about that," and walked out with the baby. The officer sighed like we were inconveniencing him. Look, family disputes are complicated. Sometimes grandparents don't understand the legal. I want to file charges, I said firmly. Right now. Took 3 hours. 3 hours of filling out forms, giving statements, and watching the clock tick by while my baby was God knows where with a woman who'd just threatened me 6 months ago. Finally, they agreed to do a welfare check at Patricia's address. But when they got there, the house was empty. No Patricia. No Gerald. No Amara. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. The message was brief. Your daughter is fine. She's where she belongs, with family who actually cares about her. You should have thought about this before you tried to destroy my son's life. We'll be in touch about visitation. I showed it to Officer Rodriguez, my hands shaking so hard I almost dropped the phone. Now he looked concerned. That's not good, he said, which was the understatement of the century. Can you trace it? We can try, but if they're using a burner phone. He didn't finish the sentence. He didn't have to. They issued an Amber Alert. My baby's face appeared on electronic billboards across the city. Amara Richardson, 2 years old, brown skin, black curly hair, wearing a pink Paw Patrol shirt. Last seen with Patricia Hendricks, 58, silver Lexus, license plate number unknown because I'd never thought to memorize it. My mama showed up at the station. Baby, what's happening? She asked, pulling me into her arms. I collapsed against her, finally letting myself break down. She took her mama. She just took my baby. My mama's face hardened in a way I'd only seen once before, when my father left us. That woman always thought she was better than everybody. Always thought her son was some kind of prince. She pulled out her phone. I'm calling Pastor Williams. We're getting the whole church to pray and search. At 11 p.m. my phone rang. It was Eleanor, Gerald's younger sister, who'd always been kind to me. Tasha, I just heard. I'm so sorry. Do you know where they are? No, but... She hesitated. Patricia called me earlier. She said some crazy stuff about how you were abusing Amara, how she had to protect her grandbaby. I told her she was insane and she hung up on me. My heart stopped. She said I was abusing Amara? Yeah. She said she had proof that she'd been documenting it for months. Tasha, I swear I don't believe her, but what? She filed a CPS report. She told me she did it 2 weeks ago. The room spun. 2 weeks ago. Before she took Amara. This was premeditated. Eleanor, I need you to help me. Please. I'll try to find out where they went. Gerald hasn't talked to me in months, but I'll call everyone I know. After we hung up, I immediately called CPS. The after-hours line connected me to an on-call worker named Jennifer. I need to know if there's a report filed against me. Natasha Richardson. The sound of typing. Then, yes, there is. It's currently under investigation. Investigation? I was never contacted. The report was filed anonymously on November 3rd. We attempted to reach you at the number provided, but it was disconnected. My old number. The one I'd changed specifically to avoid Gerald's calls. The next morning, 2 CPS workers showed up at my door at 7 a.m. sharp. Janet Morrison and her supervisor, Robert Flores. They weren't smiling. Ms. Richardson, we need to inspect your home and discuss some serious allegations. I let them in, too exhausted to protest. I'd been up all night, calling everyone I knew, posting on social media, begging for help finding Amara. My apartment was modest but clean. A 2-bedroom in a safe neighborhood. Amara's room was full of toys, books, a toddler bed with princess sheets. Janet walked through slowly, taking photos, making notes. The report claims you leave the child unsupervised for extended periods, she said. That you've been seen intoxicated while caring for her. That there are unexplained bruises. That's a lie, I said, fighting to keep my voice steady. All of it. I work 9 to 5 at Morrison Tech. Amara goes to Carol's house every day. I don't drink. I haven't had alcohol since I got pregnant. And any bruises she has are from normal toddler falls. She's 2. She's learning to run. Robert was examining photos on my wall. Who filed the report? I asked. That's confidential, Janet replied. But given the circumstances, your daughter being taken yesterday, we're treating this very seriously. This could be a custody interference situation. It is a custody interference situation. I exploded. My ex's mother kidnapped my child and filed a fake report to cover her tracks. Carol called at 9:30 a.m. Tasha, I got something. My neighbor has a Ring camera that faces my driveway. She sent me the footage from yesterday. My heart pounded. Send it to me. Now. The video was damning, in Patricia's favor at first. It showed her pulling up, getting out, approaching the door. Then the audio kicked in. I'm here to pick up Amara. Patricia's voice was clear. No ma'am, Tasha didn't tell me anyone was picking her up today, Carol responded. I'm her grandmother. I have rights. I need to call Tasha first. That won't be necessary. I spoke to her this morning. She's running late at work and asked me to get the baby. You could see Carol's hesitation. Then Patricia's face hardened. Are you refusing to let me see my granddaughter? Do you know that's against the law in this state? I can have you arrested for grandparent alienation. The legal jargon had worked. Carol, young and scared, had stepped aside. Patricia walked past her into the house. 3 minutes later, she emerged carrying a crying Amara, who was reaching back toward the door, screaming, Carol. Carol. My baby didn't even recognize her. I forwarded the video to Officer Rodriguez, the CPS workers, and my newly hired lawyer, Ms. Simmons. Ms. Simmons called back within the hour. This is gold. She lied to gain access, and the child's distress is obvious. Janet and Robert returned that afternoon with new information. Janet's face was grim. Ms. Richardson, we've reviewed the report filed against you. There are significant inconsistencies. He pulled out a file. The reporter claimed to be a concerned neighbor, but provided details only a family member would know. Your work schedule, your babysitter's name, specific dates and times. They also included photos. Photos. My mouth went dry. She turned her tablet toward me. The photos showed Amara with a bruise on her forehead. I remembered that day she tripped at the playground and hit her head on the slide. I'd taken her to urgent care to be safe. They documented everything. That was an accident, I said. I have medical records. We know, Robert said. We already pulled them. The urgent care doctor noted, injury consistent with reported fall, no concerns for abuse. But whoever filed this report cropped out the date stamp and claimed the bruise was from you hitting her. My hands clenched into fists. It was Patricia. It had to be. The phone number on the report traced back to a burner phone purchased at a gas station 3 weeks ago, Janet continued. The same gas station near Patricia Hendricks's home. We pulled the security footage. It was her. So she planned this, I whispered. She's been planning this for weeks. At midnight, Gerald finally called. Not from an unknown number, from his own phone, drunk and crying. Tasha, I didn't know she was gonna do this. I swear. Where's my daughter, Gerald? She's safe. He's with my mama. But Tasha, you gotta understand, my mama thinks she's helping. She thinks you're a bad mother because of what I told her. My blood turned to ice. What did you tell her? I was angry, okay? After you got the restraining order, after you wouldn't let me see Amara. I told her some stuff. I said you were drinking, that you left Amara alone, that you hit her. I was lying, Tasha. I was just mad, trying to get sympathy. I didn't think she'd actually do anything. I couldn't breathe. You told your mother I was abusing our child? You lied to her to make yourself look better. I'm sorry. I was messed up. Where is she, Gerald? Where's Amara? I don't know. Mama won't tell me. She said it's better if I don't know, that way you can't get it out of me. His voice dropped. She's talking about leaving the state, Tasha. She says she's gonna sue for custody, prove you're unfit. I'm recording this conversation, I said quietly. And I'm forwarding it to the police. Tasha, please. I hung up. My hands were shaking so badly I almost dropped the phone, but I managed to save the recording and send it to everyone who needed it. Police, CPS, my lawyer. Day 3 without Amara. I couldn't eat. Couldn't sleep. I'd taken emergency leave from work. My mama had moved in with me, refusing to leave me alone. The Amber Alert was still active. The police had issued a warrant for Patricia's arrest. CPS had cleared me of all allegations and marked the report as fraudulent. But none of it mattered because I didn't have my baby. I sat in Amara's room, holding her favorite stuffed elephant when my lawyer called. Tasha, we got her. I couldn't speak. Police found them at Patricia's sister's house in South Carolina. Amara's safe. She's being transported back right now. I collapsed on the floor, sobbing. My mama ran in, thinking something was wrong, but I couldn't form words. I just kept crying, relief and rage and exhaustion pouring out of me all at once. 4 hours later, a police car pulled up outside my apartment. Officer Rodriguez got out first, then opened the back door. And there was my baby. Mama! Amara screamed, reaching for me. I ran, scooping her up, holding her so tight I was afraid I'd hurt her. She was okay. She was here. She was home. Mama, I was scared, she whispered into my neck. I know, baby. I know. But you're safe now. Mama's got you. I looked up at Officer Rodriguez through my tears. Where is Patricia? His face was hard. In custody. She's being charged with kidnapping, filing a false report, and custodial interference. 2 weeks later, I stood in court facing Patricia for the first time since she'd taken my daughter. She looked smaller somehow, less intimidating. Her lawyer tried to argue that she genuinely believed the abuse allegations, that she was acting in the child's best interest. Miss Simmons destroyed that defense in minutes. She played Gerald's recorded confession. She showed the timeline of the burner phone purchase and the fake CPS report. She presented the Ring camera footage showing Amara's terror. She brought in Carol, my pediatrician, and 3 co-workers who testified about my character. Then it was my turn to speak. Your Honor, Patricia Hendricks didn't take my daughter because she thought I was abusing her. She took her because she wanted to punish me for leaving her son. For not accepting his cheating, his lies, his violence. She thought she could manipulate the system, destroy my reputation, and steal my child. I looked directly at Patricia. But she failed. Because the truth came out. And now everyone knows exactly who she is. The judge's verdict was swift. Patricia was sentenced to 18 months in prison for kidnapping and filing a false report. Gerald was charged as an accessory and given probation. But his parental rights were suspended pending a psychological evaluation. I was granted full custody with no visitation rights for either of them until Amara turned 18. The first month after was the hardest. Amara had nightmares. She wouldn't let me out of her sight, screaming if I even went to the bathroom alone. I took her to a child psychologist who specialized in trauma. Dr. Williams was patient, kind, exactly what my baby needed. She's young enough that with proper support she'll heal, Dr. Williams told me. But you need to take care of yourself too. I started therapy. Learned that my hypervigilance, my inability to sleep, my constant checking of locks and windows, it was all PTSD. I'd been through a trauma too. Carol and I became closer. She felt guilty about letting Patricia take Amara, even though I told her repeatedly it wasn't her fault. You were lied to and threatened, I said. Patricia manipulated you. That's what she does. Work was understanding, giving me flexible hours while I focused on Amara's recovery. My mama stayed with us for 3 months, making sure we ate, helping with Amara, sitting with me when the panic attacks hit. Slowly, carefully we began to heal. Amara's nightmares became less frequent. He started laughing again, playing again. I could leave the room without her screaming. We were finding our new normal. But I knew I'd never be the same. I was harder now, more cautious. I trusted people less. And I was okay with that. 6 months later, Amara turned 3. We had a small party. Just my mama, Carol, Dr. Williams, and a few kids from Amara's new preschool. No balloons or clowns, nothing overwhelming. Just cake, presents, and love. As I watched my baby blow out her candles, I thought about how far we'd come. The legal battles were over. Patricia was in prison. Gerald had moved to Atlanta, his calls to explain ignored and blocked. The restraining order was permanent now, ironclad. Eleanor still checked in occasionally, apologizing for her family. I told her she wasn't responsible for their choices. CPS had closed my case with a letter of apology for the stress their investigation caused. Janet Morrison sent flowers with a note. "You're an incredible mother. Never doubt that." I'd started a blog about my experience, helping other mothers dealing with grandparent alienation and false CPS reports. The response was overwhelming. Hundreds of women with similar stories, all feeling alone and powerless. We were building a community, a support network. "Mama, I love you," Amara said, frosting on her face, her smile bright and genuine. "I love you too, baby girl," I replied, pulling her close. "And I'll always protect you. Always." I'd been through hell, but I'd come out stronger. More importantly, my daughter knew she was safe, loved, and protected. That was all that mattered. The trauma would always be part of our story, but it wouldn't define us. We were survivors, fighters, and we were exactly where we belonged, together, home and free.